So I'm Jason Davis of the NerdBrand Podcast. Welcome. Thanks for watching and listening, or whatever medium you happen to be. It's not really a medium, I guess. Maybe it's just like a platform. I should say platform. Platform probably feels better.
Platform sounds
better. Pretend like I actually know what I do for a living. Here with Mitch Gregory, our creative director at NerdBrand, and we have Jonathan, our chief experience officer at NerdBrand.
You got it.
Yep, I'm getting there. It's CXO. It's such a weird, trendy little title that's come up, like, I don't know, what, the last 6 years or something?
Give or take. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds like something James Bondish.
Yeah, it does.
That's why I picked it.
Yeah, it does. And we're also here with Stacy Roof from, it says KYRA, but it's the Kentucky Restaurant Association.
Yes.
So thank you, Stacy, for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
So you probably could tell because of Stacy's position. We're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject, food.
And
Who doesn't love food?
like where you get that food.
Yeah, and where you get that food. So it's going to be about, Jonathan, do you want to try to say it?
What is it?
The title of this
No,
episode?
I don't. No, you got it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I can say it.
You go for it.
Restaurateurs and branding.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Restaurateurs.
Not
Leave it to-
restauranteurs.
Restaurateurs. There is no N.
No
I
way.
think that's the only word I can't spell.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty, but
No, I can never spell restaurant. I rely on spell check. I mess it up, and I'm like right-clicking, and I hit it, and I'm like, please find it. Please get it.
Restaurant.
Yeah. It's like not restroom.
pretty far off.
Yeah. If you're having a 4-star dinner in a restroom, you messed up.
Unless it's very nice.
Depends.
The service was great.
Anyways,
I know right now Stacy's like, what
have I wandered into?
What have I done? So,
Get me out. Just kidding.
so introduce the people to yourself and who you are, what you do, and all that. We'll give you the floor for a little bit.
Okay.
Because it's not like, like I've said before, you need more things to do. So I don't know.
So I am the president and CEO of the Kentucky Restaurant Association. We're a statewide trade organization made up of voluntary members of restaurants, suppliers to restaurants, and educational entities. Sullivan University, Western Kentucky University, and some high schools that take part in a curriculum that we have for those that are interested in hospitality. So we have probably 1,200-ish members on our rolls that represent several thousand locations throughout the state. We're officed in Louisville and spend a lot of time in Frankfort representing our members' interests and advocating for things that would help them do their business better, or kind of opposing things that wouldn't. And sometimes
That is such a politically correct way of stating it.
Yeah. So it's never dull.
Yeah.
We produce several events throughout the year to bring members together, which has been challenging the last couple of years, just getting them through with COVID. So, yeah, much like a chamber, it's specific to restaurants, and we just try to be a good resource for our members.
Awesome.
Yeah.
they need it.
Yeah, they do. We met you through your sister, Kristen,
Yes.
who's at the Chamber of St. Matthews. And so how I met you was from that. It wasn't the first time that we met at that dinner with Josh and with Sarah that we did, because the Chamber does do those like small one-to-one, not one-to-one dinners, because that's not, there's 4 of us, so obviously the math doesn't work there. But
It's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. But she had some input that she wanted me to ask you.
Okay.
So little sister wants to not quite embarrass the big sister.
Let's not embarrass the guy.
It can't
You
be
can't
done.
embarrass me.
Yeah, she actually did say that. She's like, yeah, you're probably not going to embarrass her, But one of the things that, because this episode's about having a fully thought out brand that encourages customers to feel positive about their experience at the restaurant. There's restaurant branding or restaurateur branding, is which I did not pronounce that right, but that's okay. You did much better. Everybody got it. You rewind the tape and listen. Yes, I said tape. It's like when you come in and sit down, everything from that moment, actually just from walking in the door to when you leave, is in our view is an experience therefore it's a part of brand. You'll see that in some of the notes that I have experience like in bold in 3 places because that's really what's happening. It wasn't a coincidence that I lingered a little bit with Jonathan and the Chief Experience Officer title, because I think as people go out now, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for something that's a memorable experience, whether it's shopping or if it's eating out or whatever. So as I got to thinking about this episode, one of the first questions I'm going to ask is not in the notes. And the reason, but it's going to be, it's not something that's going to embarrass or anything that I said before. We'll get to that in a minute because that'll be fun. But I wanted to know, like, from each of you, and you don't have to name the place, but what is your fondest memory and experience when you've gone out to eat somewhere? And Mitch is laughing because I think John and I know the name and what's going to come up.
Well, not
but
necessarily.
Go ahead.
Not necessarily. I'm not so predictable.
Uh-huh.
I mean, again, I love to eat out. It's just one of those things where I don't like to cook generally because you hear it with me. I don't like the taste of the food that I cook. Everybody else may like it.
I get that.
I like it. My food tastes better to me if somebody else cooks it. So I like to go to restaurants. Okay. Mm-hmm. Being one of the older folks at this table, I mean, my dining experience goes way, way, way back. And that's the cool thing about Louisville is there's a rich restaurant history here. I mean, it's a really cool place to come to Louisville and just sample all the kaleidoscope of different dining experiences there are here. But if you look back on our history, there is a history of really cool local places. When I was a young child, there was a restaurant in town called Little Abner's, kind of a Frisch's, Denny's kind of a place, if I remember correctly. But I don't remember the food because I was too young. But there was a statue of Little Abner out front. And my grandfather would lift me up whenever we would go there and let me touch. I could just reach it and touch his shoe. But going to what you were talking about, experience, there's a lot that goes into a positive restaurant experience. And it's not just about the food. Mm-hmm. It's about all those things that surround the food, the ambience, the atmosphere, the decor, the way you're greeted when you walk in the door. I mean, to your point, that's all branding. Mm-hmm. That's what makes that unique. That's what made that experience for me as a child with Little Abner unique. Mm-hmm. I bet, there's probably, you've got the Frisch's Big Boy guy that sits out in front of the big Frisch's. I guess for a lot of kids growing up, that was kind of a cool thing. Or McDonald's, when you have the McDonald's characters.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and we can talk about this more and I'll shut up, but it just seems like a lot of those types of things are going away. Yeah.
Sadly. Yeah. When you mention McDonald's characters, I'm like, I haven't seen a Hamburglar in a very long time. There was something I've been like, as I was thinking about this episode and thinking about experience when you go out. I mean, there was from Mad Men, Donald as a Draper, when he was doing a presentation and he was saying like, technology is a shiny object, but what is the most potent thing in advertising? And I'm shortening this quote because it's not the full thing, is nostalgia. It grabs you and it's the most potent thing in advertising and what we do. And, I thought about like, wow, like that's the thing. Because mostly you think like, oh, I was going to make a presentation. It's like, here's this cool ad and picture and stuff. And it's like, no, that's kind of what he went for. He went for that. Mm-hmm. And I've been having a lot of conversations. And I think it's coming around where people are starting, because we're going out more and interacting more with people again. Because of COVID, of course, keeping us all locked down. It's just that we're wanting to feel things more to connect with in order to, give a commitment to, whether it be our time or money. Mm-hmm. Mostly the former, I think, is one of the key metrics that I think people are like, well, do I want to spend time? And, it is the NerdBrand Podcast, and we haven't gone into nerd stuff too much. We will here in a minute. And I'm going to start with this because I can't escape it in the news, but the Batman is out. And it's a 3-hour movie, and I love Batman, but I don't like that runtime. I am really struggling to kind of get to the idea of sitting in a theater for 3 hours. I mean, I did it with Lord of the Rings. I did it with, a few other things in Marvel, but I'm just kind of like, do I want to watch a 3-hour detective noir or whatever? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's like
especially without bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
Let me tie it into our topic. Mm-hmm. And let's say you go to a restaurant, and let's say you want to have a long, lingering experience where you're not in a rush. You don't care as much that maybe you're your server or your waiter the wait staff isn't there like on 5 minutes, on top of you every 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the experience is good enough. And maybe with the Batman, the hope would be that the experience in the film is good enough that you don't really pay as much attention to the fact that it's a 3-hour-long movie. It's such an enjoyable story to be involved in that it doesn't matter. But I get it. 3 hours is a long time to sit in the theater and just kind of sit still.
Yeah.
Do anything.
Yeah. And, to relate that, like you said, to the topic is like if I'm really hungry and I go to a restaurant and I'm like, well, I've never been there, but I'm really, really hungry. Am I going to try that, or am I going to try that when I'm maybe just a little peakish, Like, how much am I going to devote my time to? So I think it's really hard in this space. Stacy, maybe you can answer, is like, what is there an edge that is not too gimmicky that could be done that they could do? I mean, it's a very competitive area here. I think before the pandemic, there was like 2,500 something plus restaurants in Louisville. Like, people were telling me like it was oversaturated, and I was like, oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about that part of the industry, 2 years ago. And of course, the pandemic, a lot of them have gone away, and now their issues they have are different. And we'll talk about that in a second. But that was sort of my thing that I was thinking is like, when you have your time and you want to consume something, whatever the product is, I mean, you're kind of reliant on like its presentation before you open up your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to kind of just judge something,
It sort of depends on what you're after in that moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I think so. And, how much research do we do beforehand? With a movie, you might see a trailer, but with a restaurant, you might pull up the website, look at the menu, kind of pick something out or a couple of things, that you think you might like. And I know I do that all the time to try and figure out if I haven't been there before, or if I have been there before, it's like I got to order something different. I always do my go-to, So,
We're all getting a rut.
Yeah. I mean, and being the expert at the table, I mean, that the biggest piece of the branding and marketing that they do is us. It's us who patron, because we go tell other people.
Right.
Some of us go a little far and write the reviews, sometimes the bad reviews. It's just like,
Well, now, there's so many places that reviews appear, right?
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
You got Yelp, you've got Google, you've got, some restaurants have websites where you can give reviews right there on their website. I mean, it's word of mouth's always been the king. I mean, especially where restaurants and entertainment.
It's
stuff
a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do businesses ever, do they ever come to you and ask you like, hey, how do I deal with these reviews, or how do I get better ones? Do you ever get questions like that at the organization?
Not really. They just typically talk to each other or deal with it the best they can. They don't have time.
Yeah, I would imagine not. Yeah.
They address things that are definitely issues, but a lot of times people will complain about the silliest things. They'll complain about a wait time when they didn't make a reservation, or they'll complain about not being seated when there's no server to cover an area,
Right.
or things that just are part of our landscape right now that the restaurant owner doesn't really, or manager doesn't have a choice in.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about, we were talking with you. We talked about how labor is an issue, and I think we've all had friends that have probably worked in the industry that have waited tables, and I had a friend years ago, and she worked at Buca de Beppo's, and it was just, and that's a different kind of restaurant because it's like family style food, restaurant serving at the table, but it's a different atmosphere, and labor now is, I don't know, it's such an upside down kind of a thing that I would imagine that if there's a waitress or waiter or whatever that comes in and sees like 10 people coming in, the sweat just, it's like, oh God.
No, they see tips.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Probably these days, yeah.
Well,
probably.
I guess that is kind of the thing now. I mean, you might not have as large a staff as you would like, but
The crowds have thinned a little bit, hopefully.
The tips don't have to be spread, I guess, as among as many hands maybe as they once did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've never done that. I was one of those folks that kind of came out the gate after high school and dumped into engineering, I guess. So I didn't really, I think I spent 2 weeks working at an H&S Hardware, and then I got fired because I didn't show up on the day that I was off. Go weird, right?
Not much good to eat at a hardware store.
Yeah, not much good to eat at a hardware store. Yeah. had plenty of iron in those bolts, though. I mean, yeah.
I will
bump.
I will say this, and this is kind of a free plug. Durham's Hardware in J-Town has a great popcorn machine.
Okay.
Nice.
We'll be sure to let them know.
Yeah. We'll put that on the title just so. Hey, by the way, if you really like, Stacy, you're a fan of Far Side Comics, and I wanted to know what was your draw to that, and if you have a favorite.
I love it. To me, it's just hysterical. The characters, the way they look, I just think it's funny, And so you mentioned my sister when we were younger. We had books. When we used to read actual books with pages in them.
What's that?
I know.
What's a book?
I still have them somewhere, but we just read through those and just crack up.
Yeah.
And quiz each other. Hey, this is what the picture looks like, and then we'd say the caption or the punchline or whatever. And so
I think my favorite one is the one where it's a 2-frame one, and it's like what is it? What the master's saying? You see the guy looking at the dog going, bad
Blah,
dog
blah,
Ginger, bad dog Ginger, bad dog. Don't do that again, Ginger. And what Ginger hears, blah 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 Ginger, blah 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 blah.
Funny though that we remember the dog's name.
Yes, Ginger.
Yeah, there's one that cracks me up, and it's like this saloon setting, and it's this lady talking to cops, and in the background, like the whole place is trashed, right? Some huge fight happened, and her quote is, and what it says under the picture is, I don't know, this crazy music started playing. This little sailor dude whips out this can of spinach, and just look at the place. So, and you could picture her, right? She's got the glasses, the big hair, and all the stuff, and anything with animals too.
Yeah.
There's one on our fridge at home that it's like a dog in the back of a car, like leaning out of the car, looking at another dog in a yard. So he's like being driven by, and ha Biff. Dad says after we go to the vet to get tutored, we're going, right? He thinks he's off for a joyride.
Going to tutor.
There's another one along the same lines where you see the cows. There's a picture of cows in a field, and they're leaning up against the fence, and somebody goes, car, and they're all back down on all fours.
Yes.
And the car goes by, and then they're back leaning on the fence, just
Love it.
Hanging out.
They're so funny.
Great stuff.
Yeah, Far Side Comics is something that I've noticed that as I was looking through, and I remember them too. I loved them, and in 2019 they actually the artists started coming back and doing them again in 2020.
Gary Larson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now they're online.
Yeah, it's a website.
Yeah. So it's something to kind of, I don't know, in this environment and what's going on. I mean, as a recording of this podcast, I mean, we know what's going on in Europe, and there's a lot of other stuff happening. We need a little bit of humor to kind of keep ourselves grounded.
And the more offbeat, the better.
Yeah. It is getting a little weirder every single day.
Absolutely.
That's why it's like when you go out to eat and everything, it's like, I can't wait to see what we're going to see walk out. And, you just kind of wonder who's going to start that website like the people of Walmart one. Like, when's this one coming out for the restaurants? Like, they showed up in sandals and,
Pajama bottoms.
Yeah, pajama bottoms and just,
And saw a guy last night. We were out. I saw a guy with flip-flops and socks on. I'm like, what are you doing, man? We're at a bar.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is not your kitchen.
Well, and my wife says I harp on this, and it is that. I mean, we went a while back. We went to Malone's. Now they've opened here in Louisville, and Malone's a pretty nice place. I mean, it's not a suit and tie place necessarily, but maybe wear a nice shirt with a collar, wear some decent, at least dress jeans, and but you get people. People just seem to go to restaurants now wearing whatever. I mean, it's an interesting trend. I mean, people, and it says something. People want to be relaxed, and they don't. I guess nowadays when they go to a restaurant, that's part of that experience. They want to be served, they want to be waited on, want food brought to them, they want to enjoy it, but they want to be. They just want to be more relaxed now. And I guess the way you dress is sort of a reflection on that. It certainly hasn't. It's only gotten more so, I think, over the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, it's like talking about Far Side Comics and how entertaining that is. I mean, restaurants had at one time tried the entertainment angle. Like we all remember Planet Hollywood. Some of us want to forget it.
Well, Hard Rock is kind of in that same kind of event. I mean, a national chain that it's all built around a theme.
Yeah.
A theme experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're not seeing too, like you said before, though, about, some of the mascots at McDonald's, they've gone away and all that. We're not seeing, have you seen too many restaurateurs that doing a theme or anything?
Not really, but I think a lot of that here has to do with, we have a lot of independent restaurants. I think that's one of our strengths, and a lot of ethnic places. And they don't tend to do that. They don't rely on the gimmick that you're going to find the same way in multiple cities that you might visit, like a Hard Rock or Planet Hollywood.
Right.
We're a destination for different reasons, and I think part of that is that we're unique.
Yeah.
And that we really do feature those independent places that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah. The only themed place in Louisville that I remember was it was on Baxter's, and it was just it was just the craziest decorations, and I'm struggling to remember the name of it because I just thought of it.
Oh, Lynn's Paradise?
Lynn's Paradise Cafe.
Yeah.
How soon we forget?
Yeah, isn't it really? Yeah. And I remember everybody would go there, and the food was okay, but at the end of the day, I was just kind of like, yeah, it's all right. But it was a
kitschy.
Theme. Yeah, it was a theme thing.
She had an ugly lamp contest every year. Remember for the fair?
Yeah,
she'd host it at the restaurant.
Yeah,
and mismatched, tables and place settings and silverware and things,
which is kind of a cool look.
It is.
Yeah, they made it at that time. It made it attractive to want to go there more than I never had anybody complain about the food because I think they more or less wanted the experience of going there and seeing what do they got today. What's going to be weird today. And then later, didn't it after it shut down, somebody got it and it was going to become like a cereal place or bar
for about 10 minutes.
There is another theme restaurant in town that, and I can't remember the name of it. And I should have thought about it and wrote it down before the podcast, but it kind of falls into our theme a little bit. And it's a comic book. Do you know the name of it? Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about?
Super Chefs.
Yes,
She knows them all.
It's a superhero themed restaurant, and I have not had a chance to go there, but it seems like the coolest. It's a cool theme, but the chef who started the place is pretty. I mean, he's legit, but he's found a really cool kind of branding theme that kind of makes him stand apart and helps him build a unique audience.
Yeah, I mean the nerd stuff, the comic stuff. I think that's always going to be. That's so ingrained now. It's like this podcast. One of the statements we make. It's the culture of the day now.
Well, it's taken over. I mean, the movie industry. I mean, there's a whole segment of the movie industry that's devoted now to it. So that's proof right there. It's all bled completely into the mainstream. But,
yeah.
I'm talking about Louisville and its restaurant atmosphere. Is there? I don't know. Food trucks are a huge thing. Are there any other kind of trends right now in the type of restaurants that are popular in Louisville, or is it still just this eclectic mishmash of things?
I think it's a lot of eclectic. I think that some of the trends are, just to be kind of farm to table, local sourcing, using what we have, readily available to us closely, paying attention to how far things have to come to be consumed.
Yep.
And making sure that, everything from dine-in to carry-out utensils and things are good for our environment. All those kinds of things people put into that equation when they make decisions. And there's always food and drink trends.
Oh yeah.
We've been through a lot of things that kind of come and go.
It seems like the old fashioned has been a very popular beverage of choice.
I think isn't that the Louisville drink though. I think that's Louisville.
It is now.
I just kind of thought bourbon was the Louisville drink in general. But to your point, maybe it is.
Yeah,
maybe it is.
I think so.
Yeah, I hear about the mint julep all the time, and I've never really had.
That's a
one.
Derby thing.
Yeah, so that's which is coming upon us pretty quick. Just blink for a moment; it'll be
here.
It'll take
under
over.
100 days.
Yeah.
I have a random question, and it's little bit different topic. Are restaurants struggling at all with like the DoorDash trends and the delivery to home? I mean, is that helping them, or is it more of a challenge? And because I mean, I've seen things in the news where DoorDash is putting up, like, I can't remember the term, but I think it's ghost restaurants, and kind of like misrepresenting or posing as the real restaurant and basically taking their sales.
I think it's challenging and sort of helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I think the part that's challenging for them is that there are fees that they incur
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
that
thinks
they don't automatically agree to. Sometimes they'll pop up on a delivery website without their knowledge.
Gotcha.
And they don't know when somebody shows up to pick up an order necessarily that it's, that the customer didn't directly place that order.
Right.
And so, I think for a lot of restaurants that bothers them because it is an experience thing.
Yeah.
And what happens in that delivery time?
Mm-hmm.
Does it reach the diner in the stage or, in the presentation that they would, the
And
temperature and all of the things that they would
Yeah.
want to make happen if that person were sitting in the dining room.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can say I've used DoorDash a fair amount, not a ton, but I've had restaurants that are exceptional, and then I've had others where the food was just not good, and it's mainly because it was delivered.
Right.
But it's still a negative ding, just a little bit, from a brand experience.
Yeah,
And it's usually not the restaurant's fault.
Right.
Yeah, very rarely.
I've noticed that too, John, because when delivery pizza became a big thing and became ubiquitous, the pizza places put the food in some kind of container that keeps it hot
Mm-hmm.
when they deliver it. Okay. I've noticed with like the DoorDashes and Uber Eats and things like that, I don't think any of these folks, God love them, I mean, they work very hard,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're putting the food in anything other than the bag.
DoorDash gives
deliver it with.
they give you a thermal bag, but I don't think anybody really uses it.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
When you sign up as a driver, they give you a couple things. I mean, they give you a thermal, kind of a I don't know, just like looks like a purse, frankly.
Yeah.
It's very
But-
expensive for the operator
Mm-hmm.
to kind of do that. And, I try not to I don't do that. I go pick it up because A, I'm a control freak, and B, I want to see the restaurant. I want the restaurant to know I'm giving them whatever our business is. And C, I just don't want to use that middleman and have them take any bit of the profit.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
They're already on such tiny margins that I just don't want to contribute to that.
Well, it goes back to the whole thing, which it's been kind of a blessing and a curse.
Right.
I mean, during COVID, it's kind of, it's a way
the
to get
infrastructure
It
got
helps.
built by somebody else, and so that helped.
it's a way to move our food.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now you wonder if people have kind of settled, at least some segment of the marketplace has settled into this area where
I think so.
I just have it brought to my house. But I'm with you, though. There's a quality issue. And it's not because of the restaurant necessarily. I think maybe there have been times where it was, but I wonder if it's because they're trying to feed two masters here now.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've
The
had
restaurants that aren't set up for delivery are now having to move into that mode, and it's a whole area they've never worked in before. And
Well, and in some cases, especially with the staff shortages that everybody's going through, operators say, if it's Saturday night at 7:00 and I have a full dining room, I'm turning off online orders.
Yeah.
Like I can't do that both well.
I've noticed that.
I don't
I've
want
noticed that.
to do both well.
Yeah.
Right.
My first obligation is the people that are sitting here
Yeah.
with their money
Right.
ready for an experience. It's kind of like when you call and you get put on hold. Well, the person who put you on hold, their priority is whoever's standing in front of them, not
Exactly.
who's on the phone.
Exactly.
At least
Right.
that should be the case.
Right.
Yeah.
And so operators oftentimes, have to turn business away to manage it effectively, or they take tables out of the dining room because of those, guests that just insist that, well, there's a table there. Why don't you just sit me there? It's like, well, do you want to wait for 20 minutes
Right.
and then
Yeah.
be mad about that? Or do you just want to wait in the waiting room until we have a spot for you and someone can take your order?
That's what I was thinking. It's like, when I go into a restaurant, sometimes there's a part of my brain that goes and counts the tables and the chairs. And I know that each chair is worth a value for whatever you find on the menu that you order. And then there's a time span that person will eat that, stay there, whatever. At the end of the day, you can calculate up how many people are going to sit in that chair over time. And if you have a table that's got
They call it butts and seats.
yeah, you got 4 butts and seats at a table, but what if you had room to add another chair? What would that do to that revenue at the end of the day? But then to your like what you're bringing up, it's like there's a labor shortage and people are impatient.
And with COVID, everybody's view of a dining room has changed because operators were told they had to move tables and chairs,
right.
X feet apart. And so some of that is still in place, not just because of COVID, but because of what we've gone through and now we think we're accustomed to, but also because it helps them manage the staff.
Right.
Well, because
who they can cover.
Right, because of the staff issues.
Right. We'll probably see them getting pushed back together a little bit for the fine dining places for Derby because that's, Mother's Day and all of the traditional let's do as much business as we can days.
Yeah. Right. The month of May is going to be a very, very chaotic and interesting month with Derby and with,
with everything
Mother's
opening
Day.
back up again. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be interesting to watch Louisville open back up for Derby and what kind of impact that has, especially given the issues with the restaurants.
It'll be huge.
With staff.
Yeah. Well,
there are, as far as the public goes, the demand is there.
Oh, yeah.
Like there is no, most operators will tell you that they're turning business away. They're not suffering for people that aren't coming out to eat, which is great here.
Right.
I'm just happy that my mom is very simple and she's okay with Arby's because don't think I can get a table anywhere coming up this Mother's Day for her and Dad. It's just not going to be, that's not going to work. But yeah, because it's going to be, well, when is Thunder? That's like
3 weeks before Derby.
Yeah.
April something.
Yeah. So we'll get a pretty good preview about maybe just kind of a hint at what's coming at that event when that comes up. And yeah, are they prepared? Is the supply chain prepared? Like, you're going to have enough
tomatoes?
Yeah, I was thinking.
Seriously.
That
seems to be the thing that's always gone.
That's another question. I mean, since you deal with both the restaurants and the suppliers, I mean, you must be hearing all kinds of interesting stories about supply chain issues and things like that.
All the time.
Do they come to you looking for answers or?
Yes, in some cases. And what they've had to do is just broadly expand who they buy things from. If they usually do business with 3 or 4 vendors, for food items, that list may be 10 or 12 now.
Wow.
Or they're checking Costco or they're checking places that they don't typically do.
Non-traditional.
And things have gone up, like in some cases tripled.
Right.
To-go containers.
I mean, I think we can all go to the store, go to the gas pump and see how things have increased. And, I mean, everybody's talking about gas, but I'm like,
that affects everything else.
Yeah,
It does.
It's like, have you seen the price of food and
Chicken wings.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's got
Right?
to be
Labor.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everybody wants more money
They
to buy
should
their
be
stuff.
making a lot of money right now because the demand is so high. But because of the increase in the wages, which is a good thing overall, and the supplies that they have to buy going up so dramatically, they're just
kind of breaking.
they're not getting out of that COVID, hole that they've been dug.
Right.
They didn't create it
flat
themselves. They, it was created for them.
Right.
They're just trying to get out of it, and it's not happening like it should.
It's like a lateral move that's happening. It's
Right.
like you think that, well, things are going to go up so I can make more money. But labor went up and the cost of supply went up. So
Everything's going up parallel
So if
to it.
everything goes up, nobody's making more money. There's just more of a cost now to everything. And with what's, with the war in Europe, let's be honest, I'll say that people want to, you can argue with on anybody listening, like, it's a war in Europe, I'm going to complain. You know what the comment section is. John will delete you. But
I will not. I'll argue with you.
yeah. But it's like all these companies that are in Russia that have left, that were producing product, are now not making that product. I wonder how long it's going to take before the price of a 2 liter of Coke goes up to the point where you're kind of like on the street corner with a guy that's like, hey, man, you got anything?
Dr. Pepper, man.
Yeah, he's pulling out a 2 liter out of his trench coat like, don't tell anyone, it's half price.
You want diet or regular?
Yeah, it's like they're smuggling. Now the black market's open up.
You were talking about some of the behavior changes that have kind of come along with COVID. And it's interesting because this brought up a story. Some of these restaurants have these little inflatable bubbles out front now to accommodate. They were kind of a byproduct of COVID. My wife goes, I want to go eat in one of those before they go away. And I said, honey, that's not there for, it's not a gimmick. It was a COVID thing. She goes, I know, but it just looks like fun. Like, okay.
I haven't seen them. I have no idea
Really?
what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they're like, they're inflatable bubbles.
Where can I see one?
They I know Limón y Sal on the Mexican restaurant on 22. They've got them. But there were, like, I think places in the Highlands, some of them had them. They're like little inflatable bubbles they put over a table outside.
So they could be their own little entity.
Yeah, I get it.
Right,
Yeah,
and they could be warm but still eat outside.
Right.
And keep everybody separated.
Have y'all seen the movie Get Smart?
Yes.
With Steven? Yeah.
I remember the TV series.
Yeah, and the TV's like the cone of silence.
The cone of silence.
That's what I'm here. That's what I'm envisioning in my head. Like it's like, all these bubbles, and there's people sitting next to them, and then they're on their little bubble, and it's like this, like, mouth is moving, but you don't hear
kind
it.
of it.
Yeah. So
that someone had like a little heater outside, and they've got lights. They've got lights inside, so you can sit them at night.
It sounds
These are
nice.
the links that they went to just to try and serve people.
Yes.
And stay alive.
Right.
Yeah.
And have more seats available.
Right.
Because they didn't have them all inside. They had to space them out. But I just wonder if those are just here to stay now.
I don't know. I kind of hope not.
I don't see the allure, but
Well, anyhow, we really appreciate you coming on the show. But before we close out, the one last thing that is kind of something I'll let you share your passion about and why is you seem to be very particular about salad ingredients.
Oh, gosh, yes.
We didn't forget.
We mentioned tomatoes, so I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to segue to that before we close out." Just for
I could live without tomatoes on salad. I could take them or leave them, I guess. But for me, just personally, and I share this with my sister, a good salad has to have 2, maybe 3 key ingredients. Nuts and cheese, preferred always, right? Mm-hmm. Good lettuce, of course.
Right.
But the dressing to me is the make it or break it. Like if I look at a menu and they're not making that dressing in-house, I'm not ordering the salad. I'm not doing
Now
it.
you all know.
I am not a snob about many things in this world, but that is one thing I will not compromise on. At my home, we have the bottled ranch for the teenagers, but we almost always have homemade ranch. And I know ranch is like, roll your eyes, but
no, that's what everybody likes.
everybody, has it,
Yep.
right? To some degree.
It's like ketchup.
It's exactly.
It's good for with the baby carrots. It helps me feel like I'm
veggies.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm eating healthy.
Yeah, I do that with my 3-year-old son.
Yeah.
like cheese on broccoli.
Right. And so I have a fake restaurant at home. It's called Mama's Diner. Again, with the teenagers because they eat at all times of the day and night.
And nobody wants the same thing.
And no, like, ew, you made that. Yes. What else do you have? And you're like, oh, just eat
I have
what
a
we
restaurant down the road and you can get a job.
Right. Yeah, go to work, buddy.
I'm surprised you're just not like, there's a speedway across the street.
I already tell my 3-year-old to get a job.
Exactly. Go get a job. You're expensive. But we have Mama's House salad dressing, which is an Italian kind of thing. And so, I think that's the only reason one son ever consumes salad is that dressing, which I get. Like, I can appreciate that with him,
Well, there you go.
I pretty much live off the salads and bags at groceries, which is probably you're probably dying in your chair.
No, not at all. I don't mind that. I buy them sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once you open them, you eat half, and if you think you're going to get the other half the next day, you'll get it, and it's like, no.
You've got 3 hours.
That's a good incentive, though.
Yeah.
3 hours.
I usually eat the whole bag.
Will says you open the package.
It's awful. It turns brown and it's nasty.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. Like, you can't take home leftover salad.
No.
Right.
Ever.
No, Lord, no.
It's not going to work, especially if you did anything to it. If you put stuff on it, forget it.
There's only so many foods that you can eat that are cold and left over that are good. I'm not a person that can eat cold pizza, but I know people do that.
Yeah.
White Castles, I will eat hot or cold.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I'm judging you.
you know what?
So it should only be consumed hot.
Yeah.
Fried chicken, that's another thing. That's another kind of food people eat cold. I don't prefer it
I don't
that
like
way.
it cold. I want it crispy and hot.
Yep.
Yeah, I usually make a sandwich out of it. Yes, I said sandwich.
It does make a good sandwich. That's good.
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
Good
That's
thought.
what I'll use it for. So if I got fried chicken up and then I got some left over, I'll just.
What if you put a slice of pizza on a sandwich?
Slice of pizza.
It's double bread.
Have you tried it? Because it
No.
might change your mind.
Carby, really carby.
I think you're on
Yeah,
this.
that's true.
I think you're on a new food.
Nobody's
a
thought
new
of
food
it.
segment. A pizza sandwich.
Yeah.
Another
calzone.
thing that I have about salads is, when you get the salad, particularly from like a quick service place, and it's like half rind, or like all the huge chunks of that.
The base of
It's
the
aggravating
base of the head
to me
of lettuce.
because at home I kill myself to get rid of all that stuff. I just want the primo lettuce.
Yeah.
You know?
And not
I don't
just
want
the iceberg.
I don't want the romaine, hunk that is just core. I hate that. Okay, I'm done talking about that now.
Yeah.
It's like ordering broccoli and you just get a bunch of the base stems.
Right.
It's like, who wants that?
I
Yeah.
want the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Go, work harder.
Yeah. If you're
rid
going
of
to make
that.
me
Be
eat
better.
healthy, give
Be
me the
better.
good stuff.
I don't want to
Yeah.
pay for that junk.
Yeah.
Now y'all know. All you restaurant people.
Never happens at a KRA member
There
restaurant.
you go.
Ever.
There you go.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you're a restaurateur and you're like, you know what, maybe I need to join this association, you can, find Stacy. Just look. You could just Google Kentucky Restaurant Association and find them, and you will find Stacy. It's that easy. I'm not going to plug a domain because honestly, we kind of Googled today anyway. Nobody's going to remember derp.org.
Right.
Well, yours is pretty easy, right? KYRA.
Yeah, I think it's just KYRA.org. But
It is.
yeah, but still, we appreciate having you on the show. We always see your sister and joke around and everything. It's been a great relationship we've had with her in the chamber. Running across you is like, give us some dirt on Kristen. And then,
There is no dirt.
Yeah.
She really is that great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then,
It's nice when you say that about a sibling.
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
you're on air at least. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we're a few years apart, so it's easier. We
Yeah.
weren't competing for the same things in life, in the same household.
Yeah, but she was excited for you to be on the show. She was like, "Oh, you need to ask her about the trip to Nashville. You need to ask her about this and ask her about that." And I'm like, "I don't know.
We've only got
You're not in charge, kid.
yeah.
We've only got like 45 minutes.
I know. I was like, I don't know. That sounds like a story that what happened in Nashville stays in Nashville. I'm not asking that.
If only we were that exciting.
I know. I feel that way too about my life. Anyways,
I'm sad now.
Oh, whatever. We'll be all right. We're all chugging along. We're all still having fun and laughing. Anyways, you can find us as well online anywhere at NerdBrand Agency on the socials. You can look us up, listen to this podcast at nerdbrandagency.com/podcast. We do have a domain just for the podcast. It'll just take you to the agency site for now, but it's nerdbrandpodcast.com. One of these days, we'll build that out as an actual podcast engine site. It's coming. So there's some news, yeah. So NerdBrand might do a thing in 3 months.
Or 9.
That's kind of how it works. We just get
6
busy.
or 9.
Yeah, we just get busy.
Because we're busy doing work for
Yeah.
our clients.
But anyways, we want to thank you for being on the show. We want to thank our listeners. And we also want to thank all of those that put us out there. We are now one of the top podcasts of 2022, according to the Search Engine Journal. So that's exciting for us. And that's
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're hoping we can get listed on some more stuff because we try to be entertaining and also be informative. And, I think this is an industry that can get very, really quick if you're not careful.
And get lost in all the same jargon words and hot topics of the day, and without really talking about the stuff that really matters.
Yeah, I think one of the things we'll do after we hit our 100th is kind of look at we've tried to address before, here's the word, here's the definition, here's how it's applied. It's the last part that's always left out, I think, in our industry, because that's the part that teaches, that's the part that informs, and people can actually see how it works, so that they can understand now, oh, okay, that means this, and then that's how it works, and now it's pretty much solidified.
Yes.
And not used as a sales term or jargon or whatever anymore, because people are now like, no, that's not what that means. And I'm seeing some of that start to happen here locally. So it's kind of been, that's
It
a good
always
thing.
takes us a while.
Well,
We're kind of laid back.
Yeah, when you're inundated with something, you just kind of turn it off and you go numb. You're like, I've heard that somewhere, and that's it, But in our world, we really do strive for people to kind of understand it, because we want you to actively participate with us in what we're doing for you. Anyways, everybody out there, be safe, and catch us next week, and keep your nerd brand strong.